I get vexed. I overreact because I don't. I really cannot put myself in a spot in which I can comprehend that in today, October of 2020, we still have among us people who choose, even though there are thousands of different avenues available to them, to drink to the point that they are impaired and get themselves into a 3, 4, 5, 6,000 pound projectile and then drive it at high rates of speed into other humans that have nothing to do with your irresponsible behavior. I came across this article the other day of this man here in Mississauga that is not from Mississauga. He apparently lives in Orangeville. I'm going to keep his name out for the sake of the conversation, because again, if we believe in our judicial system, we have to give people the benefit of the doubt, and it's something that happened. Although this is going to be hard to prove otherwise. So this man, Peel Regional Police says that an alleged impaired driver charged in connection with a fatal Mississauga crash has 2 prior convictions for impaired driving. Police said that officers were called to the area of Hurontario Street and Mineola Road shortly after midnight on Saturday for a 3-vehicle collision. This is, my heart goes out to the family of this young man. A 19-year-old man from Mississauga was pronounced dead at the scene. Making the choice to drive while impaired is inexcusable, Deputy Chief Mark Andrews said in a statement. Peel Regional Police will be relentless in the efforts to take impaired drivers off our road. Our hearts go out to the young victims and this family. Now, here is something that I need to understand. I am all for smaller government. If anyone that knows my political inclinations, they would know this. I want smaller government. I want less taxes. I want more individual freedoms. I get that. I'm all for it. But I never said, or in my thinking, the consequences for breaking those rules are something that are not part of my genetic makeup. You see, life is not fair. No one said that it is. It's not supposed to be. But there is only one thing that's fair in life, which is the consequences for our actions. Now, when it comes to impaired driving, we all know somebody within our close circle of friends or family who is an irresponsible buffoon that is willing every single week, because, most people that drink and drive are habitual drinking and driving people. They just are. The statistic is overwhelming when you look at the number of people that are killed by drunk drivers. When you look at their record, mostly is repeat offenders. But now, you see, Jordan Peterson always says that you need to kill the dragons when they're babies. So if you want to kill a baby dragon, you have to have enough laws that will serve as a huge and ultimate deterrent for somebody to commit the irresponsible, one of the biggest and most irresponsible behaviors that anyone could make. And we see this in Toronto every single weekend. Now, what do you think is an adequate punishment for a first-time offender? The moment that someone makes that decision of knowing full well that they are in no condition to get into a motor vehicle and drive it home, are the people around them supposed to also be charged? If you know that someone is leaving your house and they're completely sloshed and you allow them to leave, are you an accomplice? Where does that end? I knew someone once, and it was here in Oakville. They used to be friends of mine. This lady's brother was a habitual drunk, and one day on around the Oakville place, he was driving home, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, drunk out of his wits. He slammed his car into an incoming vehicle. And guess what? That's what took place. And I take this so seriously that if I have a single drink, I will not drive. I'm not driving that car. That's why, I don't even have alcohol in my house. And it's not something that I condone. But Ken, do you think that our laws are stringent enough to deter people from drinking and driving?
Well, to answer that question, I think you have to look at all the laws in general. And are the laws strict enough? Like a life sentence is not strict enough to deter some people from still going to murder somebody. So in that sense, no matter how strict you make the laws, there's still going to be outliers who are going to disregard the status quo of society and not care about the repercussions because they don't consider it beforehand. Now, having said that, I think in a case like this where it's been multiple offenses, like you said, it seems like every time you hear somebody passes away in an accident that's involving somebody who's had a DUI, it's somebody who's on their second, their third, their fourth offense. And so in that sense, there has to be something that's done that's more strict, because if you're going to allow these people to continue to do this multiple times, then obviously the repercussions aren't strong enough, and the pressure that society's putting on these people isn't strong enough to make them want to conform.
So, here is something that I proposed. First offense, a month in jail. Lose your license for a year. What are your thoughts?
First offense, a month in jail. My initial reaction, as we were talking about this off air before the show, was that may be a little strict. I think that a lot of people who are committing a first offense, I think that part of what should be taken into regard is their prior offenses. Are they someone who this is the first time they've ever broken the law and been arrested for it? Or is this somebody that's gotten caught for multiple other things and is now being charged with a DUI? I suspect that for a lot of people who get a DUI, it's their first offense. And if that were the case, I think something even as light as a week in jail would be enough to scare them straight and to fly right, because you hear the horror stories, and even to be removed from your regular day-to-day life for a shorter amount of period of time, I think would be enough of a shock to the system. But no doubt, it seems that a year license suspension isn't enough to deter a lot of people from still taking the risk.
Well, but look at it this way. If we are, you're in for a penny, in for a pound. If you think that a week is going to deter someone from making that silly decision, no one would want to risk to be put in to do some solid time for drinking and driving a week. So why don't we just do it a month? Now the price is going to be paid, and the price has got to be steep enough. You see, here is the problem. Because a lot of people have been lucky enough not to have anyone taken away, but some irresponsible behavior, then it's easy for us to say, oh, maybe a month in jail is too draconian, it's too hard, it's too harsh. We may ruin somebody's lives. Really? What about all the people that die every single year because people refused? They simply refused to stop drinking and driving. And the number one thing that I hear is that, I'm fine. I do this all the time. I'm fine. No, you're not. No, you're not. Now, what is it that is going to, bring some peace to the family of this 19-year-old that got killed in Mississauga? This guy, for what I read in the articles, because I read a few more articles on this, this guy does it all the time.
Yeah,
so,
and that's the real problem.
Repeat
offenders.
Because the initial sentence is too low. I don't think that we are doing enough to deter people from making this absurd decision every single week. And I can tell you, man, I personally know people that do this every single week. And
that's insane to me. That's people just continue to do it. And another point that we brought up before, or like while we were talking about this before the show, is there's no need. Especially in the GTA, there's a number of other options. Grab an Uber, grab a taxi, take the bus, do whatever it is that you need to do. Just park your car at the bar. There's no reason to drive it home. It's not as if, you're living out in a town of 300 people where the sheriff and it's all dirt roads and whatever. Not saying that's right in that situation either, but when you're driving in the GTA, you have to understand how many people are going to be on the road at any given time and that there's options. That's the part that I find most surprising. Greg, we actually have a call, so let's go to the phone lines here.
Yeah,
we
let's
have
go.
Dave from Tottenham. Dave, you're on the Greg Carrasco Show.
Greg,
Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Well, we often skirt around, social issues that affect us all on a weekly basis. And sometimes you don't have to look further than just turn the TV on and come across some atrocity that could have been so easily avoided by us having laws that are strong enough to deter people from making this terrible, terrible, irresponsible choices. What are your thoughts on this?
Definitely. So it's definitely irrational thinking on that person's behalf. I agree with what you were saying on how a week is simply not enough. But at the same time, what is, right? What stops someone from getting behind the wheel after being intoxicated?
Well, I think that a month will do it.